And now we will recognize the chairman of the whole committee, Chairman DeFazio.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the opportunity today. I'm excited about the prospects for this hearing. Basically, we're looking at, I would say, 4 categories of rail. One is one I call higher speed rail, high speed rail, magnetic levitation, and then obviously new and innovative technologies like Hyperloop. They all hold promise in different applications in different places. Higher speed rail, which would be basically existing Amtrak. I'll use the example of the Talgo train sets we run here between Oregon and Washington State. They can go 120 miles an hour. I'm 112 miles from Portland. Theoretically, then I could be there in less than an hour. If you could get to Portland in less than an hour, I think you would see a massive hemorrhaging of people away from the overcrowded Interstate 5, which frequently is blocked with accidents or traffic jams, onto a dependable service. Now, we don't even have to realize the full potential of it. If I could reliably get there in 2 hours, because on a really good day I can get there in an hour 50 on I-5, then I would never ever get on I-5 again. And I know there are many thousands of other Oregonians. And this line, ultimately, this was one of the first designated under the SWIFT Act back in 1994. Al Swift, a colleague from Washington State, a wonderful old curmudgeon, created this program, and one of the first high-speed rail routes in America. And there's a couple of witnesses who are a little short on their testimony because they say Portland to Vancouver or Portland to Seattle. That route, which I got designated in '94, is Eugene, Oregon, the second largest city, to Vancouver, BC. Precious little progress has been made, particularly by my state, who I don't think has even yet chosen a route. But there's tremendous potential in higher speed rail, let alone high speed rail. Many years ago, when I was a younger man and traveled a bit with less constraint than this job, I was in Spain, and they had trains essentially like ours, crappy old slow trains. Then they built one route. And it ran from Madrid down to the coast. And after a while, everybody in Spain rode on it once or twice. And they said, yeah, I want that. They now have a high-speed network, goes around the whole country. It has changed economics, demographics, the economy phenomenally. People can live in an affordable place more than 100 miles outside of Madrid and reliably get to work in a very short period of time. We have similar opportunities, and we'll hear about one later today in the Los Angeles Basin, linking a line out of LA to a high-speed line coming down from Las Vegas, which has tremendous potential. There are other projects around the country that we'll hear from today. So, rail could be a solution. VDOT, Virginia Department of Transportation, gave testimony, I guess 6 or 7 weeks ago before the committee, the secretary, very compelling. They evaluated 95 South, and they said, wow, the traffic is just always backed up. We could add 1 lane each way, $10 to $12 billion. By the time we finish adding the lanes, congestion will be as bad as it is today. That would be about 10 years from now. Or we could look at somehow enhancing, it'll be difficult, rail commuting. And they got into discussions with CSX, and they came to an agreement. It's going to both enhance the CSX network and help with the commuter trains. And they're actually going to build a new bridge over the Potomac River. Now, it's very expensive. This whole thing's going to cost $4 or $5 billion. Well, that's half the cost of adding the 2 lanes to the freeway that won't solve the problem. And this will provide much more benefit for commuters, benefit for the economy, benefit for the environment when we eliminate all those single occupancy automobiles. So we've got to look around the country. And part of the bill is to make DOTs, because a lot of DOTs are stuck in the Eisenhower era, and it's like, whoa, well, we'll just lay more concrete, we'll lay more asphalt, we'll widen to 8 lanes here, we'll go to 10 lanes, and you build it and they come, and then you're back where you started. I've met with communities in Texas who believe that there's linkages between cities there that could solve some of their worst freeway problems and highway problems in Texas. And I've heard this echoed around the country. I mean, Florida, they're looking at linking Miami to Orlando in the not too distant future with Brightline. So there's a lot of exciting things going on, but where's the federal government? Where has the federal government been? I mean, the Chinese are investing over $100 billion a year. Of course, a lot of it's our money for their trade deficit, so they can afford it, in their rail system for high-speed rail. What are we investing? Virtually nothing. And when you invest nothing, you get nothing. So we can't say, oh yeah, well, back in the Obama era, they put up all this money for high-speed rail, and California screwed it up. Well, yeah, the Greenfield project, they did not anticipate all the problems would come with that. And they were very poorly managed to begin with. They've gotten their act together now, but there's been a lot lost there. But that should not be the example for the country, or we should say just because of one project that didn't proceed as projected, that we are going to abandon these hopes all around the United States. And investing once every other decade a small amount of money is not going to get us there. I'd like to see larger sums than have been proposed by the Biden administration in the high-speed rail category, personally. But we also need to enhance the loan programs, the TIFIA program and others, our RIF program, and so that we can look at investments in these areas. We have put aggregate with essentially post-World War II, mostly the Eisenhower program, $2 trillion into highways invested by the federal government. It's a lot of money. Put post World War II, $777 billion into aviation, airports, runways, air traffic control, et cetera. And we have put about 90 billion total into rail. And so we wonder why we have a decrepit, pathetic network in this country. Amtrak's struggling, with infrastructure that's failing. I took the committee up to New York between Washington, D.C. and Boston. I think there's $48 billion of deferred maintenance, some of which could fail catastrophically. The tunnel under Baltimore is one example, and replacing that tunnel, and they have plans to do it, would straighten the line, would increase speeds through that section, cut a significant amount of time off the route. But hey, we put a lot of money into that tunnel back in 1872. We can't just jump out there and build a new one, can we? Really? Great engineers in 1872. But it's time to get into the 21st century. So that's what this hearing is about today. Let's talk about 21st century technology, 21st century solutions, not 1950s, not 1870s, the 21st century. And let's make America, once again, a world leader in all forms of transportation, as we used to be. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.